Welcome back to Real Estate Talk. I'm your host, Willie Lambright. And I got to tell you, man, some of the best radio you get is when you're at break. My buddy over at Eford Properties, Kerry Eford, man, if you got to know him in the studio, he has a lot of wisdom behind him. And Kerry, you know, we talked about landlords, you know, rights. We talked about, you know, renters' rights. We talked a little bit about how you started your company, and luckily we're not living in Afghanistan. We live in Dallas, America, and you can start a company because we have opportunity in this great country.
American dream.
Now, what I want to ask you about, and I talk about this all the time, I just did a show over at last Sunday with Wildcat Lending, where we have bridge loans, hard money loans, where people wanting to get into investment real estate. Market's tightened a little bit. It's a little bit tougher to find them. But at the end of the day, one of the pluses in buying investment real estate is using other people's money. And talk a little bit about, for the thinker, how they can, what do you want to do? Get to 10, 5? What do you want to do? You're around this all the time. You got 5 rental properties, 10 rental properties that are yielding you $400, $500 a month positive cash flow. I don't know. If I didn't have to take care of fresh corn and curb chain down there, I probably could make, you know, get by and retire on that. And all along, you're creating equity. Talk about that.
Well, the way I talk about that is usually, I have investors call me very frequently and ask about getting into the business, okay? And then right there, that's a red flag for me. You know, you got to really grind it down to the minute detail, make sure they understand what they're getting into if they're going to have investment properties with renters in there and all that kind of thing. And what kind of investment are you going to make into that house or property
in order to get it rentable.
And get it rentable, and also what's it going to look like with your note on the other side, and how much is it going to rent for? So to do that, it's really very important to know the market, know how much you're going to spend, and what kind of house can you get for that kind of money, okay? And what will it rent for after you buy the house? And then it really kind of boils down to, well, it's a great area and you want that for the future, so for resale value and all. So you want it, and then how much you're going to spend on it, you know, all that plays into it. But the reality is how much is the return going to be? What's it going to bring you every month? You know, because I haven't been around forever, but I know that if you make a couple $300 a month, you're doing pretty good on a rental property for the most part. So that's going to require, usually in most areas, that you're going to have to put down more than 20% or 25 required 10 that the lenders require now for investment properties to make it flow. All right. So, but I still go back to what you kind of hinted at a while ago. I'd rather have $50,000 in a rent house. I don't want to put all of my money into real estate, but because you got to be liquid. But I'm not an investment strategist, but this is just the way I think. But if I put $50,000, I'd rather have $50,000 in a rent house that's bringing me $1,200–1,500 a month than to have that same $50,000 sitting on stock in a low yield stock market anywhere, because it's just going to end up, you're going to make more money at it doing that way. But if you just trying to put the minimum in, you buy wrong, it's going to be a nightmare, because I do have some clients that have to pay money out of their pocket every month. But still, it's not that bad a deal.
I got to tell you, even if you pay a little bit out of your pocket every month,
still not a bad
it's a
deal.
write-off, and it takes you a year, 2 years, 3 years to get that equity right to where you're not paying.
But
it's called refinancing.
But in the meantime, if you need that $200 or $300 to live on every month, you're not going to be happy.
It's a business that
so you got to be careful.
It definitely takes some money to make money, right? You can't have no money to get in this business, and that's what I think Carrie was saying, potentially like a red flag. And that's,
Right.
we kind of talk people out of buying
Yep.
rental property a lot more than we talk people
Really?
in buying
Exactly.
rental property, because we know
There's
the
a rarity.
realities.
You're a real estate agent.
Well, Carrie's been
Right,
in the
no.
business 20 years. I've been in it almost 14, and you don't stay in business when you lie to people.
That's
you
right.
stay in business when you tell people the
I agree.
truth.
Well, you just don't want to do that to people
Well,
anyway. You
and
don't want
it's
to
not the right
hoodwink them
way.
into
No,
buying
no,
something.
It's that is a short-term relationship, because they'll fail, and that's it, right? Because there's no point in getting you there.
Because the goal is to get to 5, 10 properties in order to use real estate
Yeah.
as a retirement vehicle.
Why
Right.
people always have that 10 property magic number
don't know.
is because of this. Like, in one individual can get up to 10 Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac government-backed loans, basically conventional financing. You can get up to 10 properties per individual. So if you're a married couple, there is a way to do up to 20 properties with the right strategy.
Really?
So that's why you hear 10 properties all the time, because that's how many people can get for residential lending.
Well,
And then you have to go to commercial
Do
lending.
you teach that? In
Well,
some of your
to
sem-
Carrie's point, like, so I think we always have to disclaim everything. We're not lawyers and we're not financial planners, but what Carrie and I do know how to do both, just because we're practitioners and we both are investors in rental properties. We've just learned a bunch of stuff over the years. And one of the things we have learned how to do is how to help people create that strategy. So one of our strengths is to help people build the plan. We're working with at least a dozen investors right now doing that very same thing, asking the right questions and helping them, coach them through understanding and wrapping their head around what it means. If this is a property, if this is an investment, you want to make a 15% or 20% return on investment every month, it's not a fit, and it's not going to happen here in North Texas real estate.
What?
But it's a long-term asset, and this is what I call a slow and steady wins the race, if this was a tortoise and the hare, or the blue chip stock in your portfolio. That's what Dallas, Texas real estate is. It's just not going to be California. It's not going to be Nevada, but we're not going to go down. Like, this is a pretty sure thing, and the people that get that, that's what they do.
That's right. And what, to your point there, what we have that most people do not have is access to the market evaluations like the multiple listing service. We can go into any subdivision, even in the DFW market, and analyze the subdivision for your investment properties to tell you all the answers to all the questions that you'd like to have about before you buy something.
That's right. So, and one last thing, this is about what we call get rich slow. So on a previous show, Willie, we talked about the four ways that income is produced from rental properties. There's 4 ways. Carrie just talked about one of them, and that's the cash on cash return that he was talking about at the end of the month. I pay this for the mortgage and the expenses, and I get this in the rent, and then my spread is equal to
That's what you put in your
XYZ.
pocket. There you go.
Okay, that's just one way. There's 3 other ways, so make sure to listen to that show to hear the 4 ways to make money in real estate.
Can't you tell us real quick?
But this is get rich slow, Willie. This is not a get rich quick. If you're an HGTV, do it yourself, big thinker, like, it's just not a fit, and I'm going to be honest about that. Get rich slow.
I got to go to the top of the hour. We want to thank you, our listener, for joining us this Sunday morning. I'm your host, Willie Lambright, and I'll tell you, real estate changes people's lives to the good. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I want to know if my buddy Carrie will come back as a repeat offender, buddy.
I'd be happy to, and
Yeah.
thank you for asking.
Yeah, maybe we'll go fishing sometime.
I'll take you down to my farm and we'll do that.
Yeah, good stuff. Heather Anderson, as always, real estate concierge. You can go and reach out to them on the bat line, 855-732-7600. 6700, my bad. 855-732-6700. And I'm going to close this show out today by saying this. In the spirit of our topic, remember, friend, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care about them.
Amen.
You think about that. I'm your host, wrapping up another edition of Real Estate Talk, and we'll see you next Sunday.